LeBron James, but he's not a LeBron James. That's not the kind of player he is. His effort on the defensive end certainly is better, and he's getting his hands on loose basketballs. He's diving. We've seen him dive on the floor a little bit. I didn't like his rebounding tonight. I don't think he really attacked the boards well, even though, again, the Knicks were out-rebounded by 1, and J.R. Smith did the bulk of the rebounding for the Knicks. But still, I really thought that 2 rebounds from a guy who's starting at the power forward position is not acceptable. And I think if there's one criticism of Carmelo's game today, and there aren't many you can make, I just think the fact that he only had the 2 boards is something you could point out, along with the 6 turnovers, 6 of the team's 11. But I don't know, Eddie, if I'd go too far when it comes to Melo and not being happy with him. I think he's been terrific. The only time that I thought really was disappointing was when he had his back turned on the play in Houston, talking to the official about a foul that wasn't called and letting Patrick Patterson go in for an uncontested dunk. That's the kind of stuff you don't want to see out of your star player, and that's the things that he has to stay away from. And you know what? And thanks for the call, Eddie. He won't do that often, and I think there are times maybe he falls into a lapse because of the frustration that he's admitted. But he's got to understand you still have to play every second of the game and not let things affect you. When the whistle blows and the clock stops, you want to get your piece, you want to say something, and go for it. But when the game's going on, Melo's got to stay focused because this team does definitely revolve around him right now, and he is carrying them offensively, which is, as Rashid said, that's what he's paid to do. Nick in New York, you're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York.
Hi, yes. My name is Nick. I'm from New York.
How you doing, Nick?
I actually had some concern. Is Mike Woodson planning on continuing keeping Melo at the 4? Because I, like many other New Yorkers, I would imagine, are pretty happy with him there, especially with his performance this season compared to last season.
Hey, that is the biggest question of the season and will remain that until Amari does come back. I mean, does a guy lose his job because of an injury? That normally doesn't happen. And they, in the preseason and during training camp, they practiced with Amari as the starting 4, with Melo as the starting 3. The only reason why Melo was starting at the 4 was basically because of Amari's injury, and it was by surprise. Right. Now, he's playing really well scoring-wise, and it's affecting, the way other teams have to defend him because there are teams that don't have the ability to use their power forward to guard a guy like Carmelo Anthony. But we haven't really seen a lot of Melo and Amari on the floor together, and if they can really become a dynamic scoring duo. And that's something that still remains to be seen. My question is this. If Amari comes back and is at full health and you want to make him a starter, I'd like to see them give them at least have a few days of practice to get to figure it out, because if you just kind of thrust him in after one practice, that might be more difficult to do. But we first have to see how healthy Amari Stoudemire is with his knee, and if he might have to be brought along slowly at the start, playing limited minutes. And then if that's the case, maybe he's better off coming off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I think myself and a lot of New York would really embrace him, would really like him to embrace more James Harden type of role where he's coming off the bench.
Well, James Harden used to do that in Oklahoma City. Now he's a starter in Houston, and he loves doing it.
Yeah,
but I get what you're saying. I mean, and thanks for the call, Nick. I think really what happens is we see a lot of the so-called sixth man type roles come from two guards and small forwards, wing type players. We rarely see a big man and a player like Amari Stoudemire become a key six man. You don't normally see a big man as a key six man, so I don't know how that role works. And, Raymond Felton and Amari Stoudemire had great chemistry, and we know that Amari is a terrific pick-and-roll finisher. So really, why can't it work? Why can't it work when you have Amari out there with Melo? You're really only starting off the game that way. Then you'll see how they'll split them up, because that's how you generally do it, and let Amari have his room, let Melo have his room, and then they finish the games pretty much together. And I think that can work. The idea is you have a better point guard this year to dictate the offense. And with Amari out there, you have one more option and one less big that you can help off of and double-team Melo. Because if you send a power forward to Melo like they've been doing now, well, Amari Stoudemire is a very good mid-range shooter, and he certainly can hurt you, and that's something that remains to be seen. But they're going to need some practice time there. But a guy that's spending a lot of time in practice lately got off today in Steve Novak. 5 for 7 from downtown, and we saw the discount double check. We'll talk about a little bit more of what Steve Novak can bring to this team with that shooting next. It's Alan Hahn here on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
Knicks head coach Mike Woodson with Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Ruocco.
I don't know if you realize this, but your goatee actually has its own Twitter account right now.
Seriously?
Seriously. What's the key?
I got a good barber. That's the key, man. He takes care of me.
Can you talk to Iman Shumpert about getting rid of that damn high top?
No, I'm going to let him go. He wants to be taller than Coach, but I like that look on him.
Coach, come on. You've got to be kidding me, man.
Knicks coach Mike Woodson every week all season long with Stephen A. and Ryan Ruocco on ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
If you've got a business, you qualify for the official Mike and Mike office stimulus package. When you move from your office into a gorgeous Regis office, not only will you save a fortune, you'll get 2 months absolutely free.
Your Regis office comes beautifully furnished in a prestigious building. You get a receptionist, meeting rooms, and state-of-the-art video conferencing with no long-term lease. And you get 2 months free by mentioning Mike and Mike. All you have to do is call 1-800-OFFICES. That's 1-800-OFFICES.
It's time to get winter ready. Dick's Sporting Goods has more of the best brands to keep you warm as the weather gets colder. The North Face, Columbia, Spyder, Burton, Copen, Marmot, Mountain Hardwear, and more. Dick's has the widest selection in styles and colors in men's, women's, and youth jackets and accessories. And don't forget to grab a new snowboard. Dick's carries the snow equipment you need. Before hitting the slopes, stop into Dick's Sporting Goods today. Every season starts at Dick's.
Hurry into Lowe's for awesome Black Friday weekend deals. Get a DeWalt 18-volt half-inch cordless drill and driver kit for $99, a savings of $90. Also, Nest first-generation learning thermostat is now just $198, a savings of $51. Plus, choose 18-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more when you use your Lowe's consumer credit card. Lowe's, never stop improving. Offers valid 11/21 through 11/26 while supplies last. Credit offer valid 11/22 through 11/26. Special financing cannot be combined with 5% off everyday credit offer. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Bah, black sheep. Have you any wool? No, sir. No, sir. Some nincompoop with pantyhose pulled over his face stole all my wool sweaters and gaming system. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency recently helped me with renter's insurance. Everything stolen was replaced, and the little boy who lives down the lane was caught trying to sell it online. Call Geico and see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.
Leslie French was hunkered down for a fight.
I was just at the dealership looking for a car.
Lured in by the enemy.
No, it was pretty cordial, but I did need a car loan fast.
There was no time.
I called Navy Federal Credit Union. A really nice guy approved me for a loan on the spot. Great rate, too.
Victory was hers.
Well, a convertible was mine.
4 million members, 4 million stories. From every military branch, DOD, and their families. NavyFederal.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, it's Colin Cowherd. Meetings are essential to the way we work. It's an opportunity to share ideas and problem solve, develop creative solutions. But if your team is spread out all over the country in different locations, coming together can be impossible unless you use GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It's a powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate online. I've seen how clear the HD video quality is. It is amazing. No matter where everybody's located. I was in Bristol, Connecticut. They were in Los Angeles. GoToMeeting allowed us to share the same screen, making it easier to be on the same page. And with built-in HD video conferencing, you see each other face-to-face. So easy to launch, so easy to join a meeting from anywhere, on any computer. In fact, you can use a tablet or your phone. And now you can present it from your iPad. Try GoToMeeting free for a month, 30 days. Special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, use the promo code Colin. Remember to use the promo code Colin. GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing.
Kentucky.
All right, I'm Alan Hahn. This is your ESPN New York Sports Center update. The Knicks win over the Detroit Pistons at the Garden this afternoon, 121-100. Carmelo Anthony with 29 points. Here's Coach Mike Woodson on the play of Melo.
He's been playing at a high level, and we kind of come to expect it. You know, I mean, when he has a slow start, it seems like someone else is, you know, picking him up and carrying the slack when he's not making shots. But he's been pretty hot as of late.
J.R. Smith had 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists off the bench. The win keeps the Knicks perfect at the Garden at 5-0. Next up, showdown with the Nets, who took care of the Blazers this afternoon, 98-85 at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, led by Joe Johnson's 21 points. Knicks Nets tomorrow night from Barclays Center. Coverage beginning right here on ESPN New York, 98.7 FM at 6:30 p.m. In the NFL, Giants counting down to their matchup with the Packers tonight at 8:30 at MetLife Stadium. Giants enter this game in significantly better shape injury-wise than Green Bay, as linebacker Clay Matthews will not play because of a hamstring injury, and wide receiver Greg Jennings as well. While not yet officially ruled out, he is not expected to play because of a groin injury. Meanwhile, Giants head coach Tom Coughlin knows that this game tonight begins a crucial stretch for Big Blue.
We've got it to this point. It's certainly in our hands, in our own control. We play some very, very good football teams down the stretch here, but that's what it is. It's the stretch, and we're excited about that part of it. So we look forward to it, one game at a time.
All right, other scores. Chargers beat the Ravens 10-0. Chargers ahead of the Ravens 10-0. Cardinals 14-7 over the Rams. And Saints 14-7 over the 49ers. Colin Kaepernick started the game over Alex Smith and has the 49ers only points with a 7-yard touchdown run. Other scores, Bears beat the Vikings 28-10. Bengals over the Raiders 34-10. Browns over the Steelers 20-14. Colts beat the Bills 20-13. Broncos over the Chiefs 17-9. Dolphins beat the Seahawks 24-21. Falcons over the Bucks 24-23. And the Jaguars over the Titans 24-19. And that's some Big Daddy Kane for you. Alan Hahn here, ESPN New York 98.7 FM. Talking about the Knicks win to end a 2-game losing streak, the only regular season losing streak so far under Coach Mike Woodson, and they go 5-0 at the Garden. And Steve Novak off the bench with 18 big points, finds that 3-point touch, 5 of 7 from downtown. We saw the discount double check for the first time this season. I actually asked him before the game why we haven't seen it, and he said, I'm not going to break it out all the time. Going to use it when it's a big moment. And I guess when you hit 5 threes in the game, that's a pretty big moment. And his 3 there was a big moment because when he hit that 5th 3, it was pretty much putting the final touches on what turned out to be a blowout win, although the Pistons did certainly test the Knicks several times in this game. But still, 18 points from Novak, 15 from J.R. Smith, the odd couple off the bench. And talking about really the way Steve Novak has been able to play this season to find his minutes, even though he hasn't been shooting at the clip that he shot last season, but stays on that court because he's doing other things. And we talked to Wally Zerbiak, my good friend, from MSG Network on the postgame show that we worked together this season, and we've had some fun, especially when we're talking about ties and everything else. We'll get to that. But Wally, talking about Novak and his game, we always talk about his shooting, but you saw other things in his game that have kept him on the court, even though he hasn't shot at the same clip he's had past last season.
He did a great job today on Corey Maggette, and Corey Maggette is not an easy guard. He's tough. He can post up down low. He knows how to draw fouls. He can take you outside. He's a very crafty, good scorer. Steve Novak used his size very well, got a couple blocks, positioned himself very well. I was very impressed with his defense on that end of the floor. He was very engaged, and it's unbelievable. When you do it on the defensive end of the floor, that carries over to the offense and vice versa. He had it working on both ends tonight.
And how about J.R. Smith as well, the 15, 10, and 5 that he had, the 10 rebounds, which obviously an area that the Knicks really need everybody, all hands on deck in that area. For a guy at the 2 or 3 spot to get 10 boards, the little things that J.R. did, never mind his offense.
Well, Coach Woodson's put a lot of faith in J.R. this year. He's kind of handed him the keys to the second unit. He needs to play well for this team on the second unit in order for that bench to be successful. And I think J.R. has taken ownership of that. I think when he doesn't play well, he takes it upon himself to bounce back after tough games. And that's kind of a different side of him that we haven't seen in the past. He's been a little bit more carefree, doesn't really seem like he has as much invested in the team. This year it looks like he's all about the team. He's embracing the fact that he's more important for this team, and his role is very key to that bench. And Coach Woodson's really relying on him to bring it every night. And you can just see it by his effort, especially on the defensive end of the floor, rebounding. He's got the overall floor game, and I just think his professionalism is coming out in that manner.
Even though the last couple of games he hadn't played too well, it's Woodson's coaching that really kind of keeps him on point and keeps him focused. And you like his game today, even though he only shot 3 of 8. It's the other stuff, the little things that he does. And talk about a player that's had an impact on this team that really no one saw this coming, even after he was signed just as a training camp tryout guy is Rasheed Wallace. And what are you seeing out of him that really has had an impact to the point where Marcus Camby is such an afterthought in this rotation?
I'm seeing what I remember seeing when I played a couple of years back against Rasheed. He was one of the marquee 4 or 5 men in the league. I mean, to be able to his jumper is flat out pure. I mean, it's a sweet-looking jump shot. He's got a high release. He's got great arc on it. And the fact that he can stretch the floor all the way to the three-point line is just a bonus with a guy for his defensive ability and his ability to defend the rim. That's what he's in there for. I mean, he's a great defender in pick and rolls. He's a great shot blocker. He's a mobile big. And on top of the fact that he can post up and shoot the three, he's kind of made us forget about Marcus Camby. And I liken it to in the preseason in the NFL, when you have kind of a QB competition. You have 2 guys that are vying for the starting quarterback role, and one guy wins out. And then the team starts playing well and wins. You kind of forget about the other guy, and he becomes the backup.
Mm-hmm.
It's become that situation with Rasheed Wallace. I mean, he is the first big off the bench. He deserves to be the first big off the bench. He's done nothing to not warrant him being first big off the bench. He's beaten Camby out for the job, and until he shows otherwise, it's his job to lose.
And he's really done a great job with it. And, you consider the minutes. It is a guy who's 38 years old. You obviously know Jason Kidd at 39. These are players that are getting rotation minutes. 40-year-old, Kurt Thomas really kind of out of the rotation right now. But you have 2 guys in their late 30s getting a lot of minutes with Kidd as a starter right now. And Wallace, can they keep this going? I know you're not even as old as those guys, and you're working next to me. Can these guys keep it going through an 82-game schedule, playing 20 minutes a night?
Well, I was talking to Stephen A. Smith right at the end of the second quarter.
Look at you name dropping.
He thinks he thinks the schedule is going to catch up to this team in their age, and I don't think it will. I think it's up to Coach Woodson to, one, not work the guys too hard in practice, save their energy for games. I know you say practice is a time where you get better and where you work on your rotations, but these guys are veterans. They've put on enough floor time. They know what it takes to play defense, to get their rotations down. It was evident today. I don't think they really went over much in practice yesterday. I think they just had a different mindset on the defensive end of the floor. As long as Coach Woodson keeps their minutes at a pace that's not too bad, 20, 25 for Jason and Wallace, I think they can handle it. I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to have a knick-knack injury here or there, and that's where Amari and Shumpert are going to have to come in and infuse some life and energy into this team. And those guys are waiting on the sidelines ready to do that.
That's a great point. And that's really why you can think that the Knicks will get through this, because they are adding 2 guys in Shumpert, the youngest guy in the team at 22, and Amari Stoudemire at 30 years old. Yes, coming off a knee injury, but still guys that you expect will eat up minutes and help this team get through the dog days of the schedule where you start to get those tired legs. It's like adding 2 players at midseason, and that's pretty much what they'll be doing. All right, Wally, I got one more question for you as you drive home. Do you miss me in the carpool today?
I'm listening to you on the radio, so it's like you're sitting right next to me. It's the next best thing.
You can't get rid. You can't. I told you, will not get rid of me. There is no getting rid of me. Once I'm like I stick to. I'm like a fungus, man. I just keep growing on you, and you can't get rid of me. And we'll be back at it, you and I, tomorrow with the post game after the Knicks Nets is over on TNT. It's me and Wally and Bill Pito on the post game show on MSG Network. Wally, I'll see you then.
Sounds good. Take it easy.
All right, thanks. All right, well, do you think the Knicks are taking too many three-pointers? 33 attempts in this game. They did knock down 17 at almost 52% shooting. But is it too much? We'll talk about that next. You can hit me up, 800-919-3776. It's Alan Hahn, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
With raised expectations, the Knicks are getting it done.
Lays it up, misses. Chandler sticks it back. 5 to shoot, right wing Kidd, pull up 3, got it.
How far can they go?
And they're playing championship basketball. They're legitimate contenders. You got to give the Miami Heat #1 billing in the East. The Knicks are right there.
Hear about them, talk about them. Catch every Knicks game right here.
What's up, everybody? It's Carmelo Anthony. We are the home of the New York Knicks. We are ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
It's time to get winter ready. Dick's Sporting Goods has more of the best brands to keep you warm as the weather gets colder. The North Face, Columbia, Spider, Burton, Copen, Marmot, Mountain Hardwear, and more. Dick's has the widest selection in styles and colors in men's, women's, and youth jackets and accessories. And don't forget to grab a new snowboard. Dick's carries the snow equipment you need. Before hitting the slopes, stop into Dick's Sporting Goods today. Every season starts at Dick's.
I didn't always watch football here at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Ready for the big game?
You know it.
Susan's shopping, so we gotta watch Josh for a while.
Oh.
Josh's new toy, sorry.
Can't you remove the battery?
Nah, he'll start screaming.
Protect the football. Watch every game here. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Stop in and try our new Molten Buffalo Dip and dessert nachos. And don't miss our new lemon pepper dry seasoning. All available for a limited time only. Find a location at BuffaloWildWings.com.
Hurry into Lowe's for awesome Black Friday weekend deals. Get a DeWalt 18-volt half-inch cordless drill and driver kit for $99, a savings of $90. Also, Nest first-generation learning thermostat is now just $198, a savings of $51. Plus, choose 18-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more when you use your Lowe's consumer credit card. Lowe's, never stop improving. Offers valid 11/21 through 11/26 while supplies last. Credit offer valid 11/22 through 11/26. Special financing cannot be combined with 5% off everyday credit offer. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Listen, you've heard me say it. Teddy, the Huggable dealer, is the place to go for the best deal on a new car or certified pre-owned car, period. But hold up, this event, even I can't believe. It's the Teddy Black Friday sales event, extended through today. I'm telling you, you'll never get a chance to drive a new car for less. Drive a new Nissan for only $69 a month with absolutely zero due at signing. All you do is pay for your miles. That's right. You heard it correctly. Brand new Nissans, only for $69 a month. Zero down, zero first month payments, and zero bank fees. Absolutely zero due at signings. Teddy, the Huggable dealer. Volkswagen and Nissan in the Bronx. Online at teddycars.com. Come in for a hug and choose from hundreds of new vehicles starting at just $69 a month. All from Teddy Nissan, the Huggable dealer.
Wow is right, big man, because you hold the future in the palm of your hand. Introducing the revolutionary Black & Decker Gyro Screwdriver. Just grip and twist, and this bad boy's motion sensing technology will drive screws in and reverse them out. Turn your wrist to access variable speeds of awesomeness and get your projects done right the first time. So put a little wow in your weekend. You'll love yourself for it.
You know, they call Steve Novak, they call him Snowvac. That's what the Knicks players call him. They call him Snowvac. Seriously, they do. Actually, Baron Davis calls him Snowvac. And, I mean, you know, it's probably because his skin is light. But I like to think that he doesn't make it rain from three. He makes it, he's so cold it makes it snow. I don't know. Does that work? Well, anyways, we're talking about a guy that led the league in NBA in three-point shooting last year. And this year, not getting off to a red-hot start from downtown, but 5 of 7 today. Did he get back into his rhythm? But the Knicks really do shoot a lot of threes. And, folks, this is who they are. I mean, this is part of their offense. Carmelo is a big part of the offense, of course. But three-point ball, because of ball movement, because of double teams. And, you know, Mike Woodson was asked after the game if he's concerned about all these three-pointers that they're shooting.
No, it doesn't concern me because we got guys that can make them. I mean, it would concern me if I had guys that couldn't make them and we were jacking up 33 threes a game. Then I got a problem with that. I think the league has changed, guys, a little bit. You know, everybody around the league are shooting threes. They are. In my early days in Atlanta, I wasn't a big component of the threes because we just didn't have guys that could make them. But when you got guys like Melo and JR and Raymond and Kidd and Novak, you know, we got Rasheed. We got guys that can make them. Now, I don't like living by it, but I think when guys are sitting there and they're wide open, you got to take that shot.
That's actually a Mike D'Antoni-ism. It's not about, he used to say, I don't need shooters. I need makers. And that's exactly what you want. And when you have guys that can knock that shot down. Jason Kidd, by the way, if you haven't noticed, is a good three-point shooter later in his career. He's third on the list all time in three-pointers made in career. Now, of course, he's played for 100 years. So, you know, that's just going to happen. But in all honesty, he has become a very good three-point shooter. He was 2 of 5 from downtown in this game. But you have a guy like Rasheed Wallace, notorious for the three-point ball, even though he's a big man at 6'11". He's a guy that can certainly shoot the three. He was 3 of 5, knocked down a couple of late ones in the fourth quarter just to keep the crowd happy because they love yelling Sheed. And even players, J.R. Smith normally a good three-point shooter, but he is 1 of 4 in this game. But the Knicks and Melo from downtown, by the way, 4 of 5. Raymond Felton's had a couple of games where he's hit a lot of threes. It's not as if they're shooting them contested or that it's become something that's the only thing they do, where it just doesn't feel like in the flow. A lot of these three-pointers just come from ball movement and in the flow kind of offense. Sam from Long Island, you're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York.
Thank you so much.
Good, Sam.
This is my first time calling.
Oh, glad to have you.
Thank you. I enjoy your show. Also on television when I see you.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah,
now,
I took the make-off off. Go ahead.
It's not bad. I think I agree with the coach on that.
Mm-hmm.
My main concern, basically, though, is Melo's turnover rate in the last few games.
Okay.
He's been turning the ball over quite a bit.
You're right.
Secondly, too, they play the Nets tomorrow.
Yes.
I think Melo cannot play power forward in every game. They need to have someone like Rasheed Wallace starting tomorrow because there's a big three front line, big guys on the net.
Well, there's two ways to look at it, Sam. Thanks for your first call. Hope it's not your last call. There's two ways to look at it. Number one, Gerald Wallace is going to be guarding Carmelo because that's just the way it works. So you'd say, well, the 4 matchup, you'd have Chris Humphries guarding him. So I can see your point there because Humphries is such a good rebounder. The Nets are a great rebounding team, again, with more than 48 rebounds in a game in today's win over the Trailblazers. This is a team that's going to get boards, even though Lopez isn't a great rebounder. You still have Humphries, and they're a hustle kind of rebound type of team. You get Reggie Evans in there, and he'll attack the glass as well. So I think it is something that they have to consider. But, you don't want to change something that's going well, and they do have 9 wins in 12 games playing this way. And so the Nets maybe have to adjust to the Knicks when it comes to the lineup. But, again, I think you'll see Gerald Wallace on Melo, and you're not going to see too much of Chris Humphries on him. But what do you do? Put Ronnie Brewer on him, on Chris Humphries? This is where I wonder what's going to happen. Ray in the car. You're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Ray. How are you?
Good, good. I just want to talk about the three-point shooting for the Knicks, and everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
To me, I really don't see anything wrong with shooting any threes, counting the threes, how many you shoot, as long as they're not uncontested. If they're open and that's the only shot, take it.
Yeah.
I'd rather see an open 3-point shot than a contested 2-point shot.
Right. No, and that's the whole idea, and thanks for the call, Ray. I mean, that's really the idea, is that when you get ball movement, when a double comes or when you beat somebody off the pick and roll, and now you got to help off a guy who's a shooter in the corner or on the wing, you kick out to a guy who's got a wide-open look. And the 3-point shot, it's not a novelty. It's been around the NBA for 30 years, over 30 years. So it's a shot that everybody knows about. And if you're good at it, which a lot of players are now because they're bigger and stronger, and they're better shooters. And so what's the problem with taking it if you have guys who are good at it? If you have guys that aren't good at it, and I'm not going to pick on Landry Fields here, but he's not a great 3-point shooter. And he was in the corner a lot last season and the season before, and he'd be left open in the corner. Well, if you're going to kick the ball out to Landry Fields and he's going to miss those corner threes left and right, that's not a good shot. And that's the difference, I think. And, but you have a guy like Steve Novak in the corner. Carmelo Anthony certainly doesn't mind him shooting the ball.
It's good to see the belt back out. I'll tell you that. I'm glad to see the belt back out.
Yeah, that's the discount double check, right? That's the championship belt. That's something that Aaron Rodgers, started. Well, he didn't start it, but obviously it was something that he does a lot with the Packers, and Novak being a big Packers fan growing up in Wisconsin. Well, that's something that he started picking up last season, but we didn't see a lot of that discount double check. We didn't see a lot of that championship belt. Well, for a reason, because, he didn't want to take, he didn't want to do it just to do it. Yeah, he wanted to do it when it was a big shot. And that's, I think, and when he felt good shooting, because he hasn't really felt too good shooting early this season. He had a couple of stretches there where he really wasn't knocking down that 3-ball. Like we remember him, anytime he was open, he would knock it down. He had to recalibrate the J a little bit, and I think he did. Steve today, after the game, said he felt good.
Yeah, it always helps to see the ball, go in, especially when, you feel like you're shooting it the right way and it doesn't go in, versus when you think you're doing it the right way. So to see it go in, it definitely, I think it helps, and it'll be good leading into tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what else helps, too? Something that Wally Zerbiak mentioned on the air on MSG Network was that he likes when Novak's out there with Carmelo Anthony because when, like we were saying, when you double on Carmelo, you have to help off someone. And if they're helping off Steve Novak, he's open out in the wing, right, Steve?
The attention that he draws, those double teams and all that, I know it's my job to, if I'm on the same side, just stay as far in the corner as I can to keep my man away. And if I'm on the weak side, I see him always peeking and looking. So it's my job to just space the floor.
And that's a guy you want to be that floor spacer because, again, last season, one of the best 3-point shooters in the game. Owner from West Orange. You're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York. Too many threes? Arnold?
Yeah.
You're on the air. Too many three-pointers for the Knicks or no?
I think too many.
Yeah.
The Knicks supposed to get inside. I mean, you can kind of compare them taking so many threes to the Yankees this postseason. Where
too many home runs? Too many home runs, you mean? For the Yankees?
Too many home runs.
Okay. Well, if you're going to go inside, though, Arnold, who are you going inside to? Who's your inside player that's going to score for you aside from Carmelo Anthony?
I think Rasheed Wallace has been okay off the bench, but I think when Amari Stoudemire comes back, maybe.
Yeah. Well, he's got to come back first, and that's for sure. And maybe the threes, and thanks for the call, Arnold, maybe the threes do go down when Amari comes in because you have another scorer on the floor who can do it mid-range and also will try to do it in the pick and roll and show us a little bit of that post game that we still haven't seen yet that he worked with Hakeem Olajuwon in the offseason. That is something we still haven't seen yet. Brian from Long Island, you're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York.
Hey, yeah, it's like your first time calling, my first time trying, actually got through.
Yeah, see,
cool.
Because you're from Long Island. If you're from Long Island, you're getting through every time with me.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
All right.
I was just calling to say I think that the Knicks, I don't think they take too many three-pointers. I think that the league nowadays, within the past couple of years, you see more big men, like the post game has really kind of evaporated from the league. You don't see too many big men that just team can throw the ball down to the post and just let them go to work.
Right.
And I think you see more also evolve to more big men that spread the floor and can take threes, like a Rasheed Wallace or, like other guys, even centers in the league that can take three-pointers. And I honestly don't think it's that bad of a way to go about a game plan, just because if they have guys like Mike Williams said that can make the shots, why not let them take them if they're open?
Right. And that's the whole thing. And again, you're right too. When you have bigs that can shoot the three ball, that helps too, because it does spread the floor. And when they say, well, it's too many threes, you want to play inside. You can't play inside if you don't have a way to spread out the defense, because if you don't have a team with good shooters, you can't go inside because defenses pack it in. That's what they do. Brian, hey, thanks for the call, my friend.
I just have one more.
All right, real quick.
I wanted to make that. You said how Amari coming off the bench. You said that you don't remember too many, big men that came off the bench as a sixth man that really had an impact.
Go ahead.
I was thinking maybe what about Lamar Odom? He was in that championship run. He was a big factor.
Yeah.
He came off the bench as a four. And he played pretty well. He was also that big guy who could shoot threes and stuff like that.
No, you're right about that. That's actually a good point, Brian. But they're two different players. Hey, thanks for the call, by the way. Don't make it your last call. They're different players though, because Odom is really that Swiss Army knife kind of player who can, he can do a little bit of everything. He's more of a facilitator. Where Amari, let's be honest, Amari's a scorer, and he's a guy that gets the ball and attacks. And when he's at full health, really tough to defend in the pick and roll and around the basket. He's not that kind of guy who can facilitate the way you can run an offense through Lamar Odom, which is why he was so valuable when he'd come off the bench, because, you can take your starting point guard out and put in Lamar Odom, and it's like having a point forward out there that can really run things. So, I'm not sure really of that comparison, but I mean, trying to find a guy who's like a big man who came off the bench. There's one that's a pretty good example. And meanwhile, let's look at the Nets with this game we have setting up for Monday night. Darren Williams playing so well. Talk about the Knicks playing well at the Garden. How about the Nets have won 5 straight at Barclays, and they're 6-1 at home. Can the Knicks change that? We'll talk about that more coming up next. Alan Hahn, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
It's time to get winter ready. Dick's Sporting Goods has more of the best brands to keep you warm as the weather gets colder. The North Face, Columbia, Spider, Burton, Copen, Marmot, Mountain Hardwear, and more. Dick's has the widest selection in styles and colors in men's, women's, and youth jackets and accessories. And don't forget to grab a new snowboard. Dick's carries the snow equipment you need. Before hitting the slopes, stop into Dick's Sporting Goods today. Every season starts at Dick's.
Hurry into Lowe's for awesome Black Friday weekend deals. Get a DeWalt 18-volt half-inch cordless drill and driver kit for $99, a savings of $90. Also, Nest first-generation learning thermostat is now just $198, a savings of $51. Plus, choose 18-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more when you use your Lowe's consumer credit card. Lowe's, never stop improving. Offers valid 11/21 through 11/26 while supplies last. Credit offer valid 11/22 through 11/26. Special financing cannot be combined with 5% off everyday credit offer. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Almost done with your hors d'oeuvres. Soufflés are ready. Hey, Flo, how are those cupcakes coming?
Putting sprinkles on the last one now.
Great. Hey, I thought we had another tray of the red velvet. Have you seen it?
Me? What? Why would you? There's frosting on my face, isn't there?
Yep.
Insuring your business vehicles with Progressive is like having Flo on the road with you. 24/7 live support, online bill pay, and expert claims. Now that's Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. United Financial Casualty Company and Affiliates.
This holiday season, spend less time shopping for a new Mercedes-Benz and more time for yourself. Announcing the Rally Motors Less is More event, where buying a new or certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz has never been easier. At Rally, it's simple. You spend less time, less hassle, and less worrying when you purchase a Mercedes-Benz. And during this holiday season, you'll enjoy more incentives, more inventory, and more leasing and financing options. Don't settle for the status quo. Expect more. Rally Motors. View all specials online at RALLYEmotors.com.
The NYPD is among the best law enforcement departments in the country. The NYPD offers a job with a future, a great place to serve, and a chance to advance. Visit NYPDrecruit.com or call 212-RECRUIT for current test schedules and filing fee information.
From ABC News, Wall Street now, a ceasefire half a world away caused stocks to rally here. The Dow closed up 48 points, the Nasdaq added 10, and the S&P gained 3. Stocks shot up after Secretary of State Clinton helped to broker a deal to end more than a week of fighting between Israel and Hamas. The markets will be closed tomorrow for Thanksgiving. The Conference Board's index of leading indicators increased 0.2% in October. It was up 0.5% the month before. The index is used to forecast economic conditions 3 to 6 months down the road. The number of people filing first-time jobless claims was up again for a second straight week, mainly because of people in areas affected by Superstorm Sandy who still can't work. New claims fell by 41,000. A judge in New York says Hostess Brands can proceed with a plan to file for bankruptcy. The company that makes Twinkies, Wonder Bread, and other iconic products couldn't reach a deal with union workers last week and shut the ovens off. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
What's up, everybody? It's Carmelo Anthony, and this is your home for New York Knicks basketball.
WEPN FM, WEPN HD1, New York. ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Mark Kestisher. Week 12 in the National Football League. 49ers and Saints going at it in New Orleans. San Francisco 7-2-1 on the season. Saints open with 4 straight losses, but have put together 5 wins in their last 6 to get back to 500. They are tied with San Francisco 14-14 at half. Drew Brees, 2 touchdown passes, had the ball and a touchdown lead, and then threw a pick 6. Ahmad Brooks, 50-yard interception return for the tying score. 14-14 at the half. Meanwhile, the third quarter being played in San Diego. Chargers lead Baltimore 10-3. Phillip Rivers, a 21-yard touchdown pass. Arizona 17-14 over St. Louis. They are at the half in the desert. Earlier today, Atlanta just got by Tampa Bay 24-23. The Falcons now 10-1 on the season. Broncos open 2-3 under Peyton Manning, but now he's helped reel off 6 straight Denver wins today, 17-9 at Kansas City. Manning throwing 2 touchdown passes, including a 30-yarder to Demaryius Thomas for the lead in the third quarter.
This year he's been consistent for us. We're trying to find ways to get him the ball. That was a great catch down the sideline for that touchdown versus tight coverage. And like I said, a couple of big third down conversions when we had to have them.
Kansas City's now lost 8 in a row. The Bears lost 6 players but beat Minnesota 28-10. Jay Cutler came back through a touchdown. Devin Hester went down with a concussion. Matt Forte, Charles Tillman among those who left with ankle injuries. Cleveland forced 8 Pittsburgh turnovers, beat the Steelers 20-14. Miami dropped Seattle 24-21. Indianapolis right now looking good in the AFC wildcard hunt. 7-4, beat Buffalo 20-13. Andrew Luck passed for 240 yards and a score. He's got over 3,000 passing yards, most by a rookie quarterback NFL history through his first 11 games. Cincinnati beat Oakland 34-10. Jaguars 24-19 win over Tennessee. Sunday night game coming up in a couple of hours. Packers at the Giants. It was Black Friday for holiday shoppers, day after Thanksgiving. Black Sunday for college football coaches today. Auburn has a vacancy. Gene Chizik fired after a winless SEC season and a 49-0 loss to Alabama in the Iron Bowl. NC State firing Coach Tom O'Brien today. Danny Hope out at Purdue. Late word is that Boston College has canned Frank Spaziani. Meanwhile, college basketball, 21st ranked Connecticut beat Stony Brook 73-62. NBA Knicks over Detroit 121-100. Spurs in double overtime get out of Toronto with a 111-106 win over the Raptors.
Hey, it's Greeny wishing you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving weekend. We'll be back in better than ever on Monday talking football with you, with Chris Carter, Mike Ditka, Ron Jaworski, and all the reaction to a huge NFL weekend. It's Mike and Mike Monday on ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com.
.603 Alan Hahn here with you. ESPN New York 98.7 FM. Coming off a Knicks win at the Garden that extends their record at MSG to 5-0 this season, still without a loss at the Garden. Meanwhile, the Brooklyn Nets now 6-1 at home. They only won 9 games at home all last season, but the Nets 6-1, and the Knicks will now test that start as the two teams go head-to-head at the Barclays Center tomorrow night, 7 p.m. First showdown between the two teams that now with the Nets in Brooklyn, two New York City teams. This portion of the Alan Hahn Show brought to you by Johnny Walker. Put your skills to the test. Log on to ESPNNewYork.com right now and play New York Rank'em, presented by Johnny Walker. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Must be 21 and over. So meanwhile, as we set up this game now that everyone, as Avery Johnson said, the game that a lot of people have been waiting for. And he's right, because this was supposed to start the regular season. The NBA schedule was supposed to begin with the Knicks and Nets in the Barclays Center, but obviously we had that terrible storm here in New York City, and the NBA made the right decision in postponing that game because it was not a time to play an NBA game, especially not in Brooklyn, an area of the city as well as Long Island and New Jersey that just was ravaged by that storm. And so now we wait until tomorrow night for these two teams to play the first of 4 times this season. And will it be the only 4 times they play this season? Will they get to a postseason? But that's, to me, when they really become a rivalry, as we bring in the New York Times' Howard Beck, who jumped ship from covering the Knicks to his, because he's a Brooklyn guy, to his hometown team, the Brooklyn Nets. And Howard, when you see the way the Nets got off to their start, and you see the way the Knicks got off to their start, it really does at least set the stage for these two teams to become a rivalry, because it only works when both teams are good.
Yeah, no, you're of course absolutely right there. And, you talked playoffs. They obviously met in the playoffs last in 2004. That's been a really long 8 years for both these franchises because they both went through hell in the meantime.
Right.
And, yeah, it's only going to matter if they're both good. Right now they are. It's early for both of them, and we can throw up all kinds of caveats for each of them if we wanted to. But it's a good start for both, and that's good for what everybody hopes and believes will be a pretty good rivalry. And, if they meet in the playoffs, great. But, here's where you and I think disagree, though, because I saw you yawning on Henry Abbott's podcast, yawning sarcastically, I should say.
Very.
And I don't think the playoffs are going to be the ultimate indicator for this one. And the reason is Knicks fans and Nets fans are already really getting into this. And we can say competitively a rivalry is truly a rivalry when the games matter, especially in the postseason, and that's absolutely true, and I agree with you. But a lot of a rivalry lives in the fans' head,
Great.
in the heads of the fans of their two respective teams. And
Great
right
point.
now, it's on. My timeline for the last 10 minutes, since I tweeted that the Nets were 6-1 at home with a 5-game winning streak at home going into tomorrow's game, I'm getting a bunch of Knicks fans coming back with, that streak ends tomorrow, and then, no, that's not a Nets home game, it's a Knicks home game. I mean, this is the stuff I've been hearing for months, ever since, switching beats for one, and ever since tweeting a lot about the Nets, with obviously a lot of Knicks fans still following me on Twitter. So I believe the rivalry is already quite alive and well, as I say, within the city, because for the first time, and I know you agree with me on this, for the first time, people actually do have to choose one or the other. And, there was no choice before. Nobody cared about the New Jersey Nets. They might as well have been playing in Nebraska. And this is different. The dynamic is different, and especially different in Brooklyn, where, there are obviously a lot of Nets fans walking around. I see tons of Nets gear, much more than I see Knicks gear these days. But we'll see. Will Knicks fans show up in droves tomorrow night?
it's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see what that vibe is like tomorrow.
Yeah, how has the Barclays Center been just in general as a home arena? Because we know that, even when they were at Prudential, even though that's a nice building, there was just no atmosphere. And forget about the Meadowlands, forget about that arena, Izod Center. There was just nothing in that place. When the Knicks would go in either building, it was like a home game for the Knicks. But, how has Barclays Center been as a home building for the Nets? Never mind against the Knicks, but in the opponents they've had, they've played there 7 times now with the 6 wins. Are you sensing some type of atmosphere developing already in this new building?
Because I was covering the Knicks the last 8 years, I was only over to just as you were, over to the Meadowlands or the Newark.
Right. Well, let me preface this by saying, let me preface this by telling the people that Howard Beck also covered the Lakers before covering the Knicks. So talk about a guy who's been able to see games in 2 of the best buildings or most established buildings in the NBA, in the Staples Center and Madison Square Garden. So if anybody has something to compare it to, it certainly is you. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to preface that to the listeners.
Yeah, no, and look, Staples Center is a place that people look at as like, oh, well, it's cavernous and LA fans are too laid back. But Staples Center, during especially the playoffs or any big game, that place will get as loud as anywhere and as intense as anywhere. And Laker fans are really passionate and very into it. The Garden, we know, one of the most passionate arenas in the league, and they've been there through good times and bad, and Knicks fans are very into it and very loyal. The Nets, there was no following to speak of in New Jersey, so yeah, you go over there when it's Knicks-Nets, and the place is mostly Knicks fans, and if it's Nets somebody else, I went over there during their losing streak, that 0-18 a couple of years back. The place is just dead.
Right.
Brooklyn is different. Barclays Center is different. This is a new crop of fans. There are some transplanted fans, certainly from New Jersey and elsewhere, but I think mostly newer fans. And so I think, you asked about what is the atmosphere. It's still kind of, I think, evolving. In the preseason, in the first couple of home games that I was at, it was good energy, but not overwhelming, not intense, not like the Garden on a big night, not like a Bulls game on a big night, or the Celtics, which obviously they're one of the best arenas in terms of the home fans in the league. New Jersey, Brooklyn's got me even falling in. Brooklyn's not there yet. The Nets aren't there yet, but I will tell you, especially in fourth quarters of close games, or especially like Friday night against the Clippers, they are into it. And Friday night was a sellout. And that place, it came alive in the fourth quarter, tight game. They clamped down defensively. The fans got into it. Those Brooklyn chants are really,
that becomes a trademark.
The arena.
Yeah, that's becoming a trademark.
Kind of environment, because that's not something you're going to hear, obviously, anywhere else in the league. So they've got their own thing going on. And that makes it kind of fun there.
And that's pretty cool. Well, let's actually just now, we talked about atmosphere and its rivalry, but we don't spend enough time, at least I haven't, and I think I'm guilty of that, and I'll start to change that now. I promise to the Nets fans who do try to get after me on Twitter, is that this is a good team. I mean, it's, there's no question this is a good team, obviously with a very good backcourt, but Joe Johnson hasn't really gotten off to a great start shooting-wise, but he had a better game tonight, this afternoon, at 10 of 19 from downtown with 21 points. Is he starting to – is that really like the last piece? Because Brook Lopez has played so well to start this season scoring-wise, and Deron Williams really has been Deron Williams.
By the way, just as you're saying that, I'm driving right by Clyde Frazier's. So
order the fresh guacamole.
Joe Johnson's start, I think, was somewhat of a concern for them, but that they were winning despite him playing way below his standard, I think was in some ways a good sign for them. He's actually had 2 good games in a row here, so I think he's starting to come around. It's obviously an adjustment when you're used to having the ball in your hands a lot in Atlanta and several years that he played there, to adjusting to having a dominant point guard next to him. I think, the 2 of these biggest concerns I thought the Nets had coming into training camp, or the 2 issues that you thought, let's see where these things go. Defense was one, because you didn't know if they had enough of it, and chemistry is the other, because they've turned over nearly the entire roster, and even the guys who came back had barely played together. People forget this. Deron Williams and Brook Lopez played 17 games together in their first year and a half together.
Right.
So you take those 2 guys, Gerald Wallace, who just got here at midseason last year, and then Joe Johnson, who just got here, and then a whole new bench. It's a really new group. So chemistry had to be established, and you're starting to see that, I think, and especially between Deron Williams and Joe Johnson. Defense, they've been better at times than I think anybody expected. That Clipper game, they beat them, 84-74, 86-76, whatever it ended up being. Clippers are one of the top offensive teams in the league.
Oh, no, that was an incredible fourth quarter. Yeah.
We're seeing that the Nets have that ability, and that was one of the big question marks. You knew they'd have offense because of Deron Williams, Joe Johnson, Brook Lopez. That's a pretty good threesome as any offensive threesome in the league. But defense was the big concern, because nobody on that roster, aside from Gerald Wallace, is really known as being a great defender. And I think they're starting to show signs of that. I don't know if they can do it consistently enough.
All right, Howard. Well, after you're done here with me, tell everybody what you'll be doing later on tonight on TV.
You can catch me tonight talking more Nets and Knicks with Lauren Benke on Channel 7, and that will be airing at 11:50.
A little ABC action for you. Howard Beck, the New York Times. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Alan. Anytime, man.
All right, take care. All right, well, going into this game, of course, and we've talked about this in the past, fans have to make a decision. You have to make your decision now. You have to plant your flag, and let's get ready for a game that should begin a rivalry. As Avery Johnson said, everybody, a lot of people have been looking forward to this game. You call me right now. 800-919-3776 is the number, and let me know if you're looking forward to this game, and if you are, which side are you on? It's Alan Hahn, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
Man, I'll never forget the day this cat came through the park. He sure didn't look like a player. We were all wrong. He was dishing and swishing till sundown. Who was this guy? He just said,
"They call me the head."
I found out years later who the head really was. Yes, indeed. The head was Michael Kay. Michael Kay knows his basketball. The Michael Kay Show. Weekdays at 3 on the home of the Knicks, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
It's time to get winter ready. Dick's Sporting Goods has more of the best brands to keep you warm as the weather gets colder. The North Face, Columbia, Spider, Burton, Copen, Marmot, Mountain Hardwear, and more. Dick's has the widest selection in styles and colors in men's, women's, and youth jackets and accessories. And don't forget to grab a new snowboard. Dick's carries the snow equipment you need. Before hitting the slopes, stop into Dick's Sporting Goods today. Every season starts at Dick's.
Hurry into Lowe's for awesome Black Friday weekend deals. Get a DeWalt 18-volt half-inch cordless drill and driver kit for $99, a savings of $90. Also, Nest first-generation learning thermostat is now just $198, a savings of $51. Plus, choose 18 months special financing on purchases of $299 or more when you use your Lowe's consumer credit card. Lowe's, never stop improving. Offers valid 11/21 through 11/26 while supplies last. Credit offer valid 11/22 through 11/26. Special financing cannot be combined with 5% off everyday credit offer. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Hi, it's Colin Cowherd. Meetings are essential to the way we work. It's an opportunity to share ideas and problem solve, develop creative solutions. But if your team is spread out all over the country in different locations, coming together can be impossible unless you use GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It's a powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate online. I've seen how clear the HD video quality is. It is amazing. No matter where everybody's located. I was in Bristol, Connecticut. They were in Los Angeles. GoToMeeting allowed us to share the same screen, making it easier to be on the same page. And with built-in HD video conferencing, you see each other face-to-face. So easy to launch, so easy to join a meeting from anywhere, on any computer. In fact, you can use a tablet or your phone. And now you can present it from your iPad. Try GoToMeeting free for a month, 30 days. Special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, use the promo code Colin. Remember to use the promo code Colin. GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing.
Well, I'll tell you about the game of football. It has its ups and downs and highs and lows. And you know what I'm talking about, wins and losses, injuries, and great performances. Teams have no guarantees on whether or not they will make it to the playoffs, so that big bonus at the end of the season, it may not come. Now, I've got a little tip for all my professional player friends who may not end up with that big payday. You might want to think about switching to Geico. Geico has been saving millions of other people money, or like me money, on their car insurance for the last 75 years. I've been with Geico 33 years since I got my license. In fact, Geico is the #1 car insurer in the tri-state area for the last 2 years running. The truth is, Geico finds every way possible to save drivers money, from low rates to good driver and multi-driver discounts. In fact, you can save hundreds on your car insurance just by switching to Geico. I know I did. So give Geico a call. And I never switched. I started with Geico. So give Geico a call or go to geico.com. It only takes 15 minutes, and you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Just something to think about, my friends.
All right, so the last time Carmelo Anthony played basketball in the borough of Brooklyn, he was 8 years old. This will be the first time Carmelo Anthony plays a professional basketball game in the borough of his birth, and he's looking forward to it.
I'll be clear-minded, clear-headed tomorrow. Just to step on that court, though, and see, the Brooklyn logo on that basketball court, I feel like I'm home. Sometimes when, I know they over there and they make a shot, they scream Brooklyn out, and, in the crowd. Watching the games, it kind of give me a little bit goosebumps just to hear that, once again.
Now, you remember Carmelo Anthony, he grew up in Red Hook. That's where he was born and raised till he was about 8 years old. And from that, he became a Bernard King fan because a lot of his relatives and friends that he grew up with, the older guys that were around him, were watching the Knicks back in those days. We all know BK is from the BK. We know Bernard King being a Brooklyn guy as well. And Melo really became a Bernard King fan from that. Even though he wasn't old enough to really watch Bernard as a Knick, it was just from that upbringing that he became a Bernard King kind of fan. But playing in Brooklyn for Carmelo is going to be a special thing because, again, he is a guy who considers himself born and raised in Brooklyn, even though he became really the player he is from growing up in Baltimore. But Brooklyn does mean something, and this game tomorrow night is definitely going to mean something for Carmelo Anthony, who's playing at an MVP level right now.
Yeah, this game came so quick, man. The schedule, is not friendly to us at all, but if we don't get up for this game, then I don't know what game we're going to get up for. It's in-city game, New York versus Brooklyn. For me, going back home, going back to that barrel, playing, my first game over there is a very special moment for myself.
Now, who's this game? Is it more important for the Nets to beat the Knicks and sort of establish something because they are sort of the new team, even though they've been around really the New York area? They're the new team in New York, and it's their home floor. Is it a bigger game for them, or is it bigger for the Knicks to make sure they hold these guys down and, quote-unquote, put them in their place? What does Carmelo think of that? This is what he said.
Oh, man, it's another game for us. I don't really want to put too much emphasis on the game. We want to win. We're going over there to win. It's a divisional game, so we know the importance, of beating the teams in our division. And our goal is winning our division, so we got to take care of that.
800-919-3776, the number. Time for you Knicks and Nets fans to stand up now. You have till tomorrow to make your claim. You cannot be on both sides of the fence. You got to pick one now. Knicks or Nets? Let me hear from you. Corey from Long Island. You're on with the Island Hon, ESPN New York. Corey?
Well, yeah.
How are you?
Well, I'm going to the game tomorrow, and I'm going to be sitting right behind the net bench, and they're certainly going to hear from me.
Oh, they're going to hear? What are they going to hear from you?
Yeah, they're going to hear a lot of hoopla. I say that much.
Well, are you rooting for the Nets or are you rooting for the Knicks?
No. I'm going to be in their ear all night giving them a lot of bad things.
A lot of bad things. You and Rashid. So why are you giving it to the Nets? Why aren't you going to be a Nets fan?
Because ever since I grew up, as a diehard Knicks fan, I was always taught to bleed the blue and orange,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, tomorrow night I'm going to plant my feet down proudly and, poke my chest out with that New York Knicks sign across my chest, and we're going to win that game.
And that's your team. That's it. All right, Corey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. All right, Wayne from Brooklyn. You're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York. Knicks or Nets?
It's Knicks all the way from me, Mr. Alan Hahn.
All right, Wayne.
How's it going, guys?
I'm going well. How are you doing, cousin?
I'm doing all right, man. Good win for the Knicks today after that lackluster performance in Houston. Oh, my goodness.
Well, it's, seventh game, seventh different city in 10 days. Probably a little bit of fatigue factor there, but they were overwhelmed. They were caught by surprise, I think, with Parsons. But what do you think about Knicks and Nets now Monday night? Is there something to be established at the Barclays Center tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think, listen, I'm hoping the Knicks go in there and play well and the refs call a fair game, because I've been watching these Brooklyn Nets, and I'm from Brooklyn, born and raised, and I've just been seeing, calls going the Brooklyn Nets way every game for some reason. I mean, really, really bad. Already, Carmelo Anthony ain't getting no calls. Right. And there's a lot of, Mr. Reggie Evans over there just, that guy's a really, really dirty dude.
Well, I mean, he's already gotten one flopping violation, or he actually got he's the first guy to get a flopping fine, so we'll see. But how about in this game today? And thanks for the call, Wayne. I'll talk to you later. Nets got 21 free throws, and the Portland Trailblazers had 13 free throws. The foul situation, interesting, 19-11. But, we'll see what happens. Obviously, Carmelo has been frustrated lately on that. All right, Mike from Queens, you're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York. Knicks or Nets? Mike? All right, Mike, I got to let you go. John from Mount Vernon, you're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York.
How you doing, my man? I'm enjoying your show.
Thanks, John. Knicks or Nets?
I'm going for the Knicks always, but I was wondering if you could match up each one of the positions for me. I feel that the Knicks got more All-Stars and they got more championship rings than the Nets, so I think they could be overmatched tomorrow.
Well, I'm not sure about overmatched, but when it comes to championship rings, I don't see any on that Nets roster, aside, of course, from Avery Johnson, the head coach.
Yeah, that's it.
But you have, obviously, on the Knicks, you have a couple, obviously, Jason Kidd, Tyson Chandler, Rasheed Wallace, a little more experience there. But I do think, what concerns me, John, about this matchup is the Chris Humphries rebounding aspect and the fact the Knicks aren't a very good rebounding team, and the Nets are a very good rebounding team, and that could be a major factor. That and Tyson Chandler going up against Brooke Lopez. John, thanks for the call, my friend. Raymond from Miami. Knicks or Nets, Raymond? You're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York.
Alan, Nets all the way.
Okay, and why?
Always been a Nets fan. I love the team. I love the moves that Billy King did this year.
Are you always Are you from Miami, or were you from the New York area and moved down there?
I'm from the New York area.
All right,
I've always been a Nets fan.
Were you a New Jersey guy that you're a Nets fan, or are you a New York guy that was a Nets fan?
Actually born in Manhattan, but I lived a small amount of time in New Jersey.
Okay.
During the Jason Kidd era.
Oh, all right, makes it easy. Sure.
Yeah. Now, one move that went under the radar, I love the Reggie Evans move. I know 2 callers ago he talked about the flopping and
he is a flopper, but he is a very effective guy off the bench because he gives you great energy and he gives you very physical play. He's a guy from the old school, little 90s type basketball. Well, he'll get into it with you. I kind of like him off the bench as an energy guy. I understand that.
Him and Humphries, it's the perfect combination. They're sitting next to Brooke. I mean, Brooke doesn't
to help him out on the boards, right?
Exactly.
No question about it. But when it comes to Humphries and when it comes to Reggie Evans, there's 2 guys, especially Reggie Evans, where it's when he gets the ball, nobody needs to guard him.
Right.
You don't have to do anything.
No scoring production from them. You're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, Raymond, I know you're going to enjoy the game, so enjoy it, and I'll talk to you later. All right. We're going to move on to Harold from Brooklyn. Let's hear from you, Harold. You're on with Alan Hahn, ESPN New York.
Hey, Alan Hahn. Actually, everybody's talking about Amari coming back if he's going to play well with Melo, and I'm not too impressed with the way Tyson Chandler's been playing. We're getting killed on the boards. We're getting killed with points in the paint. And tomorrow, if we lose tomorrow, I think that those are the 2 categories we have to worry about the most.
No question.
I think that if we lose, that's what's going to happen.
No, Harold, you're right on point with that. And I think, again, Tyson Chandler, we've talked about him. He hasn't been himself lately, and you wonder if the knee's bothering him. He's not talking about it. He was wearing a sleeve over that knee today. And the Nets are a team that can put a lot of points up in the paint. They put 52 up in this game today against the Trailblazers, who aren't a small team, although they don't play big. This is something that is obviously a concern for the Knicks, especially and also the rebounding aspect as well. The 2 areas the Knicks have to be careful with. Go ahead.
Yeah, also, he doesn't have any low post moves. I know that hasn't been his game his whole career, but there's been a couple of times even today he'll get hit. They hit him with the ball with the pick and roll, and he will lose the ball. I think that happened twice.
Yeah.
And also in the Miami series last year, when he did catch the ball on the pick and roll, he would run right into Shane Battier and catch a charge, at least 4 times. So I wouldn't be surprised if when Amari comes back, you see Amari and Melo on the floor together, and you see Tyson on the bench. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I don't know about and thanks for the call, Harold. I appreciate it. I'm not sure you'll see Tyson on the bench. Again, people have to understand this is not I don't think so anyway. I'm not basing this on anything I know. I'm just speculating from what I've seen. This is not a healthy Tyson Chandler by any means because he's much quicker than we've seen him. He's not very active down low, and I'm wondering if something's limiting him a little bit. Not a lot, but enough to affect him because he normally is a great pick-and-roll player. He finishes with that lob very well, but I don't think we will see him on the bench. I think Amari could play with Melo. I'd like to see it a little more, and we'll see. We don't know for sure. I'm going to take one more, and we'll get a Brooklyn guy because I want to see what Brooklyn thinks about Nets or Knicks. Miguel from Brooklyn, Knicks or Nets?
Yeah, what's up, Alan? What's going on?
How you doing, Miguel? So let me know. Plant your flag right now. Knicks or Nets?
All right, listen, I've been from Brooklyn for 26 years, right?
Yeah.
I bleed the Knicks for life. That's it.
Okay, you bleed Knicks, so you're staying with the Knicks, even though you have a team now, a professional team in Brooklyn. You're staying with the Knicks because that's been your team all along.
Yes, I have.
You think a lot of people feel the way you feel in Brooklyn?
Yeah, why not? Listen, just a new stadium, same team. Well, not the same team, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. All right, Miguel, well, thanks for the call and enjoy the game, as we will also enjoy the game. And, again, don't forget, After that game ends, Knicks-Nets, you will get me, Wally, and Bill Pito on MSG Network for a post-game show, as well as I will be here at halftime with Bill Daughtry of that game on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. And tonight, huge game for the Giants, and also after the scores today, big game for the Packers as well. Giants-Packers tonight. We'll talk about that coming up next. Alan Hahn, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
This is the Mike Lupica Show.
And it is quite clear off of this small sampling, and again, we can only take so much out of what we've seen so far, that the most important addition to this team is Jason Kidd, and then the next most important addition is Raymond Felton.
The Mike Lupica Show, weekdays at noon, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
It's time to get winter ready. Dick's Sporting Goods has more of the best brands to keep you warm as the weather gets colder. The North Face, Columbia, Spider, Burton, Copen, Marmot, Mountain Hardwear, and more. Dick's has the widest selection in styles and colors in men's, women's, and youth jackets and accessories. And don't forget to grab a new snowboard. Dick's carries the snow equipment you need. Before hitting the slopes, stop into Dick's Sporting Goods today. Every season starts at Dick's.
I didn't always watch football here at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Ready for the big game?
You know it.
Susan's shopping, so we gotta watch Josh for a while.
Oh.
Josh's new toy, sorry.
Can't you remove the battery?
Nah, he'll start screaming.
Protect the football. Watch every game here. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Stop in and try our new Molten Buffalo Dip and dessert nachos. And don't miss our new lemon pepper dry seasoning. All available for a limited time only. Find a location at BuffaloWildWings.com.
Hurry into Lowe's for awesome Black Friday weekend deals. Get a DeWalt 18-volt half-inch cordless drill and driver kit for $99, a savings of $90. Also, Nest first-generation learning thermostat is now just $198, a savings of $51. Plus, choose 18-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more when you use your Lowe's consumer credit card. Lowe's, never stop improving. Offers valid 11/21 through 11/26 while supplies last. Credit offer valid 11/22 through 11/26. Special financing cannot be combined with 5% off everyday credit offer. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Listen, you've heard me say it. Teddy, the Huggable Dealer, is the place to go for the best deal on a new car or certified pre-owned car, period. But hold up, this event, even I can't believe. It's the Teddy Black Friday sales event, extended through today. I'm telling you, you'll never get a chance to drive a new car for less. Drive a new Nissan for only $69 a month with absolutely zero due at signing. All you do is pay for your miles. That's right. You heard it correctly. Brand new Nissans, only for $69 a month. Zero down, zero first month payments, and zero bank fees. Absolutely zero due at signings. Teddy, the Huggable Dealer, Volkswagen and Nissan in the Bronx, online at teddycars.com. Come in for a hug and choose from hundreds of new vehicles starting at just $69 a month. All from Teddy Nissan, the Huggable Dealer.
Ba, black sheep. Have you any wool? No, sir. No, sir. Some nincompoop with pantyhose pulled over his face stole all my wool sweaters and gaming system. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency recently helped me with renter's insurance. Everything stolen was replaced, and the little boy who lives down the lane was caught trying to sell it online. Call Geico and see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.
Wow is right, big man, because you hold the future in the palm of your hand. Introducing the revolutionary Black & Decker Gyro Screwdriver. Just grip and twist, and this bad boy's motion sensing technology will drive screws in and reverse them out. Turn your wrist to access variable speeds of awesomeness and get your projects done right the first time. So put a little wow in your weekend. You'll love yourself for it.
Leslie French was hunkered down for a fight.
I was just at the dealership looking for a car.
Lured in by the enemy.
No, it was pretty cordial, but I did need a car loan fast.
There was no time.
I called Navy Federal Credit Union. A really nice guy approved me for a loan on the spot. Great rate, too.
Victory was hers.
Well, a convertible was mine.
4 million members, 4 million stories. From every military branch, DOD, and their families. NavyFederal.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
I'm Alan Hahn with your ESPN New York Sports Center update. Knicks a winner over the Pistons at the Garden this afternoon, 121-100 to end a two-game losing streak and improve to 9-3. Carmelo Anthony with 29 points. Coach Mike Woodson on the play of Melo.
He's been playing at a high level, and we kind of come to expect it. I mean, when he has a slow start, it seems like someone else is, picking him up and carrying the slack when he's not making shots, but he's been pretty hot as of late.
J.R. Smith with 15 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists off the bench. The win keeps the Knicks perfect at home at 5-0. Next up, showdown with the Nets. Took care of the Blazers this afternoon, 98-85, led by Joe Johnson's 21 points. 5 straight home wins for the Nets, improved to 6-1 at the Barclays Center. Knicks Nets tomorrow night from the Barclays Center. Coverage beginning right here on ESPN New York 98.7 FM, 6:30 p.m. In the NFL, Giants counting down to their matchup with the Packers tonight, 8:30 at MetLife Stadium. Giants enter this game significantly better injury-wise than Green Bay, as linebacker Clay Matthews will not play because of a hamstring injury. Wide receiver Greg Jennings is listed as questionable because of a groin injury. Around the NFL in the fourth quarter, Chargers 10, Ravens 3. Also in the third, Cardinals 17, Rams 21, and the 49ers 28-21 in the third quarter over the Saints. Some finals for you. Bears over the Vikings 28-10, Bengals 34, Raiders 10, Browns 20, Steelers 14, Colts 20, Bills 13, Broncos 17, Chiefs 9. The Dolphins beat the Seahawks 24-21, Falcons over the Bucks 24-23, and the Jaguars beat the Titans 24-19. So, for one NFL football New York team, the season is not really over yet. Actually, the season should just be starting for this team, as the Giants, off a bye week, get back to action tonight against the Green Bay Packers in a game that, when the schedule came out, the Packers had it circled. Clay Matthews talked about how the Giants didn't beat the Packers in the playoffs, he said, last year in the divisional playoff game. No, he said that the Packers beat themselves. Well, Clay Matthews won't be able to really put his money where his mouth is in this game because he's out. And that's a big loss for this Packers team. It's on a roll right now with 5 straight wins, but an important game for them, even more so now that the Bears got their win already today and improved to 8-3. And so now for the Packers, they have to keep pace, because if they lose this game, yeah, for the Giants, it's great in their division, but for the Packers, it sets them back now a game behind the Bears, and that makes things very interesting in their division. But we're talking about a game here for the Giants. They want to get off their little bit of a schneid with the 2 losses. The bad one right before the bye week in Cincinnati, 31-13, ugly one. Eli Manning getting that rest, that dead arm ready. Well, we'll have to find out. We'll see. They're not the same. The Packers are not the same defensive team that they saw last year in the playoffs. But these two teams know each other pretty well. They've seen each other a lot over the last couple of seasons now, meet each other in the playoffs for a couple of years, and obviously in the regular season as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams go at it in a game that means a lot for both teams. For the Giants, well, you're talking about a win that will really open up some room for them in the NFC East. Now that Washington had that win in a really entertaining game over the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. And it does set up something, because if the Giants do lose this game, well, that game in Washington next week, Monday night, gets very, very interesting. And if you're trying to say, well, the Redskins are young, they're not that good, hey, you have to watch how scary that team looked at times, especially with RG3 running that offense. They are getting better as the season goes on. This is not a team to shake off and say, oh, well, it's no big deal. Because that game, if the Giants go into Washington and need that win, that game gets very scary. So tonight, must win really on the line, in my opinion, for both the Giants and the Packers. And, as we bring in Jason Wilde from ESPNWisconsin.com, talk about the importance of this game, really obvious importance of this game for the Packers tonight against the Giants.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I would say about that is, as we learned from last season's when these two teams played on December 4th, I mean, it turned out to not really matter all that much. And that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case this year, but the Packers win that game. They run their record to 12-0 at the time, and what really mattered is when they saw each other in the playoffs. The Packers and the Giants have both proven that it's more important how you're playing at the end of the year than even how you're playing at this point. So I get the sense that the Packers maybe don't see this as a must-win after their 5 straight wins. Apparently they're not going to play Jennings. They obviously ruled Clay Matthews out at the beginning of the week. They haven't rushed Charles Woodson back from his broken collarbone. Greg Jennings expected to play in this game, to be perfectly honest, when I talked to him on Friday, and it sounds like he's going to be out. So I don't know what to make of Mike McCarthy's philosophy on this game. It sure seems like his feeling is that, it'd be nice to win, but we're not going to put a bunch of guys that are coming back from injury in position to re-aggravate their injuries to find a way to win this one.
Well, that's amazing that you would say that. I mean, if you think about, and I know the point you're making obviously is true. We saw it with the Giants and the Packers. Really doesn't matter. What matters most is you get into the playoffs and then really you get going. But it is interesting considering the build-up in the offseason and how this team sort of felt like they owed the Giants.
There's a couple of things that I think should make this a big game. I mean, like you mentioned, the Bears win today to go to 8-3. The Vikings fall to 6-5. The Lions are obviously a mess.
Yeah.
So, if the Packers are going to win the division, now they do have 4 of their last 5 games in the division, so they do still kind of control their own destiny there, including a game against the Bears on the 16th in Chicago. But, in terms of keeping your momentum going, continuing to play well, all those kinds of things, and the fact that you could very well see this team again in the postseason as they have in both 2007 and in 2011. I don't necessarily think it's not an important game, but it certainly would seem. I mean, the fact that they're not going to play Greg Jennings to me sounds like, we'd like to win this game, but we're not going to worry about it if we're not going to risk a guy who's had injury problems all season by rushing him back. And the other thing is you got to remember, this team lost a lot of its margin for error with the call in Seattle in Week 3 when they lost that game when they shouldn't have, and then they went out and lost fully of their own volition when they went to Indianapolis and lost to that team. So that it doesn't seem like they have a lot of margin for error. You would think that they would need this game, but again, the indication would seem like they don't feel that way.
It really, that's really incredible if you think too. And again, I go back to last year's playoffs and the kind of the bad taste that was in the mouth of the Packers, and what Clay Matthews said about how we beat ourselves. And I thought for sure this game was circled on the calendar, sort of a message sender if they do end up running into each other again in the playoffs. And
I still can't believe that this game wasn't played as the opener. I mean, I really thought the
Absolutely
last 2
true.
Super Bowl champions, the fact that the Giants had knocked the Packers out of the playoffs, and
two
that
classic
Clay Matthews
franchises.
and Jarrett Bush had said the things they did.
Right.
I mean, look, no offense to Clay, but their defense played the way their defense had played all year, and their offense turned the ball over 3 times. So if he was saying that they beat themselves offensively because they turned the ball over, and they hadn't done that a lot last season. But, the good thing for the Packers, even without Clay Matthews, is that this defense is appreciably better. They've had young guys who have really stepped up and played well, and I think that, more than anything, gives them hope that they can go on a run late in the season and be where they want to be at the end of the year going into the playoffs, as opposed to last year when they clearly had peaked too early and their defense was never going to get any better.
We're talking to Jason Wilde from ESPNWisconsin.com, and a couple of quick things for you before I let you go. First and foremost, you don't normally see this coming out of the Packers or that organization or really that locker room, but you're Michael Finley, and just the stuff he's saying with his relationship with Aaron Rodgers, just where is that and what's that all about?
Yeah, I wish I understood him a little bit better. Rodgers said on his radio show this week with us that their relationship has really improved, that they've been spending time together every Saturday night before games. Rodgers made a reference that said, look, I'm not Dr. Phil, but we've spent a lot of time talking about stuff off the field. So he says all these things. That's on Tuesday. And then later on Tuesday, the story from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's Packers magazine posts online. Now, they were quotes from things that Finley had said on Thursday, but saying things like, we need to go out and get a drink, and he's got other people he trusts more than me, and all the other things. I mean, he was pretty negative about his relationship still, and so that caused a bit of a stir in the locker room, and I think Aaron Rodgers just basically diffused it by saying, look, from my perspective, I think we've got a good relationship. I don't know what that conversation was about, but I feel good about where they're at.
And how about Mason Crosby and where he's at right now mentally? He's really kind of struggled of late. And obviously something you don't want. You don't want your kicker struggling as you head towards the playoffs and start playing big games. Where is he right now mentally, and do you think he'll get back in the groove?
Yeah, I think that a game like tonight would really go a long way for him. I mean, here's a place where, now granted it wasn't the longest kick in the world, but he kicked the game winner last year. It was only the second one he's ever kicked in regular season or postseason play. The 31-yard walk-off last year at MetLife. I don't know. I think he could certainly use a couple of good kicks that kind of lift his confidence. But, No, he's 10 of 13 from inside of 50 yards and 1 of 5 from 50 and farther out. And certainly in the NFL today, you expect guys to make more 50-yard field goals than they miss. But I'm not sure he's been as awful as maybe people are starting to think he is. I think he needs one good game to get things straightened out, and maybe that's the night for him.
Yeah, well, like you said, he has some good memories at MetLife. Had a big kick there last season. All right, so you're saying the feeling you're getting just from some of the decisions they're making that maybe this isn't that big of a game or that critical of a game for the Packers, but how big of a game do you see this for the Giants?
Well, it's interesting to look at the NFC East, where obviously if you watch the Thanksgiving game in Dallas, you're starting to wonder, well, how good can the Redskins be? I mean, look, they're coming off of a bye. Eli Manning, there's plenty of guys who know more about the Giants than I do, but Eli Manning has not been himself the last 3 weeks or the last 3 games. I think there's a feeling that they need to just kind of get back on the right track. And to me, this is about feeling good about where your team is at. And that was one of the things that came out of last year's game. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but the Giants, I was amazed. They lost the game, and yet listening to all those guys talk afterward, they talked about how much confidence that game had given them and how much better they felt about where they were, how they felt like they were in good position even though they were 6-6. And it turned out they were right.
Yeah.
So I think, whether you win or lose this game, I think it's more about how well you feel you played in it. And if it turns out to be a game like last year and the outcome goes the opposite way, I think both teams could still walk out of here feeling good about themselves.
All right, well, if you're a Packers fan living in New York City and you don't follow Jason Wilde on ESPNWisconsin.com, you're missing out. Make sure you get what's your Twitter handle, because I know everybody's got one.
It's Jason J. Wilde, and I always love coming out here, and that was really nice of you to put that plug on, because I know a lot of folks out here in New York that'll get a kick out of that.
Oh, yeah, big Packers fans, including my friend Steve Novak, who plays for the Knicks. And by the way, tonight he did the discount double check for Aaron Rodgers. So, and he got booed by the guard.
Loves him for that. I know that for a fact.
And he got booed by the Garden crowd for saying that he hopes the Packers win. So, all right, Jason, again, thanks for the time. Good to talk to you.
Happy to do it. Thanks a lot.
All right, take care. All right, well, the Packers have given up a league-high 32 sacks this season. Why that doesn't matter to the Giants. Coming up next, the Malin Hahn, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
It's time to get winter ready. Dick's Sporting Goods has more of the best brands to keep you warm as the weather gets colder. The North Face, Columbia, Spider, Burton, Copen, Marmot, Mountain Hardwear, and more. Dick's has the widest selection in styles and colors in men's, women's, and youth jackets and accessories. And don't forget to grab a new snowboard. Dick's carries the snow equipment you need. Before hitting the slopes, stop into Dick's Sporting Goods today. Every season starts at Dick's.
Hurry into Lowe's for awesome Black Friday weekend deals. Get a DeWalt 18-volt half-inch cordless drill and driver kit for $99, a savings of $90. Also, Nest first-generation learning thermostat is now just $198, a savings of $51. Plus, choose 18-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more when you use your Lowe's consumer credit card. Lowe's, never stop improving. Offers valid 11/21 through 11/26 while supplies last. Credit offer valid 11/22 through 11/26. Special financing cannot be combined with 5% off everyday credit offer. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Dr. Pepper's changing lives again with a one-of-a-kind opportunity, the Dr. Pepper tuition giveaway. So go to drpepper.com and tell us why you could use some of that tuition. Like Yvonne Padilla Rodriguez. A year ago, she was struggling to pay her tuition. Now she's got $100,000 from Dr. Pepper to help her realize her dreams. What do you want to change in the world? Go to drpepper.com and upload your video. No purchase necessary. You could win up to $100,000 in tuition. So if you want to make a difference, grab an ice-cold Dr. Pepper and head to drpepper.com. Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind.
The NYPD is among the best law enforcement departments in the country. The NYPD offers a job with a future, a great place to serve, and a chance to advance. Visit NYPDrecruit.com or call 212-RECRUIT for current test schedules and filing fee information.
It's a top 20 doubleheader in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. The best squads in the country prepare to battle. First, explosive C.J. Leslie leads NC State as they face off with Michigan in its dynamic backcourt. Then Roy Williams and the Tar Heels face a steep test against Cody Zeller and number 1 Indiana. The ACC Big Ten Challenge, NC State versus Michigan at 7:30 Eastern, UNC Indiana at 9:30, Tuesday on ESPN.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Halloween tonight, giving kids perky jerky. I think kids would like jerky. Gabby, you're on our radio show. How old are you, honey?
I'm 10.
Okay, Gabby, what do you think of jerky and protein shakes for Halloween? Why not?
No. You have to hand out candy.
Gabby, candy gives you rotten teeth.
That's the point of brushing teeth.
What, I get a smart aleck? I wanted a kid.
Colin Cowherd.
I'll deliver the funny lines, Gabby.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on ESPN Radio.
You gotta wake them up.
Every weekday morning.
Wake me up. Wake up to Mike and Mike in the morning.
On ESPN Radio.
We had Ray Anderson from the NFL on. He, along with Merton Hanks, who was a former player.
Right. A DB.
A former defensive back, yeah, on a really good secondary that involved, that included Ronnie Lott once upon a time in San Francisco, were the ones who initially gave the one-game suspension, which took with it a one-game paycheck, which was over $400,000 for Ed Reed. And Ray Anderson explained to us on the program that he felt that they needed to go the route of the suspension because clearly the fines weren't getting the job done anymore.
Ed Reed, unfortunately, is a repeat offender, and we put it on the burdens on the defender to alter his target in those situations where a guy is defenseless. Let me just say this. Here's the bottom line for us. Hits to the head and neck area potentially are life-altering as well as career-altering. We believe that. We have enough to show us that. So illegal hits to the head and neck area are our biggest concern, and we are absolutely intent on getting those out of the game, and we can't defer any longer to fines as the primary deterrent. They are not effective.
And just hearing that comment, I would sit there and I'd say, I fully agree. I absolutely agree with that comment, how he said it. The problem is the enforcement. That, to me, is a problem because there's a big difference of intent to go to the head and heads or a part of the body hitting the head of a receiver in certain situations. And as much as he wanted to say yesterday, they look at all of them and, if they don't think they were going to hit in the head, they end up hitting in the head, the guys are getting fined. Guys are getting flagged and guys are getting fined way more than they should. And the league is fine with that because of the protection they think they're giving people who have head injuries. So I get that, and I understand it. But the way they're going about it, to me, is overboard.
Okay, I agree with you for the most part. Now, here's the thing. If they want to go overboard, if they want to err on the side of caution in the interest of player safety, I'm on board. Here's where I need them to meet me halfway. When Ted Cottrell writes in his explanation that Ed Reed's action was egregious, and just for the record, I had Balbiz get me the actual dictionary definition from Merriam-Webster of the word egregious. It is conspicuously bad, flagrant. Synonyms include glaring, gross, and rank and striking. None of those apply to Ed Reed.
No.
What I would rather hear is, I am reducing the suspension because the reality is that was an unavoidable play, and we recognize you couldn't avoid it. It wasn't egregious. It was unavoidable.
It's Mike and Mike in the morning, weekdays on ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com.
Into sound. This is a journey into an NFL season for the New York Giants. We've been waiting for this game since the preseason. At least I have been. I thought this was game circled on both teams' schedule, considering they've played each other a lot lately and the last couple of seasons, and they've been big games, and there's a little bit of a rivalry developing between these two teams, and Clay Matthews got it going in the offseason, saying they didn't beat us, we beat ourselves, and the Giants certainly shrugging that off. But, it's interesting. I really was surprised that Jason Wilde from ESPNWisconsin.com, who we just talked to, he doesn't get the sense that the Packers are looking at this with the same kind of sense of urgency that perhaps the Giants are. The fact that Greg Jennings is not going to play, really, for a guy that covers the team, which he does, it took him by surprise, saying, maybe they don't want to get a guy like that, an important player in this game. Does it tell you that maybe, they've won 5 in a row, even though a loss will put them down a game in their division, that they're not feeling the same kind of urgency? But for the Giants, I mean, if you're a Giants fan out there, and get at me at 800-919-3776 and let me know, Giants fans, how you feel the importance of this game. I see it as important because with the Washington Redskins looming next week, Monday Night Football, big stage, and also the fact that a loss here puts you too close to an opponent in that NFC East where you want to really put the NFC away. You want to keep that space going when you finish out the season, which just gets tougher and tougher with New Orleans, Atlanta, the Ravens, and then you finish in that against the Eagles, and a game like that is always a crapshoot when you play the Eagles when it's Giants-Eagles. But, we've been talking 2 weeks. This is a long bye week for the Giants coming off that ugly loss in Cincinnati, and Tom Coughlin has talked about it during the week. He's just, this starts an important run for his Giants.
We've got it to this point. It's certainly in our hands, in our own control. We play some very, very good football teams down the stretch here, but that's what it is. It's the stretch, and we're excited about that part of it. So we look forward to it, one game at a time.
And it starts tonight against the Green Bay Packers, a team with, arguably the best quarterback in the game, certainly one of the best in Aaron Rodgers. He's been sacked 32 times already this season. That's the most in the NFL. And when you think the Giants and their front line with Osi Umenyiora and, Justin Tuck and JPP and Kiwanuka and just the guys that they have that can run you down, and you would think that just what a combination that could be for the Giants. But not really. Not really, because this season the Giants, in the middle of the pack in sacks at 25 this season, and there are games where they're dominant like they were against the 49ers with the 6 sacks in that game, but they didn't have any in their last game against the Bengals. 0. And, when the Packers know they're playing against such a great front line like this Giants front line, Rodgers is going to change things up. He's going to back up a little bit and allow some space. He's going to get rid of the ball quicker. But without Greg Jennings out there, there's one less guy, one less target for him to take advantage of. So it'll be interesting to see if the Giants do make something of that sack number that should benefit them. But, like Umenyiora was talking about during the week, and he said, as much as it looks like it should benefit the Giants, it's not going to be that easy. It's not something that really benefits them much because teams do know what's coming. They know what's coming against them. And so what they want to do is get the paws up. Like Mark Jackson says, hand down, man down. Get your hand up, man up. Because if they get the hand up and they kind of block some of the passing lanes for Aaron Rodgers, he's a big quarterback, so he certainly can see over lines. You got to get hands up. You got to tip balls. You've got to wave your hand in front of you. Don't let him get a clean look. So as much as you want to pursue what they talk about, what the Giants have talked about this week, is the importance of also blocking his view because he's going to get rid of it quickly and not allow the Giants to get at him. So that's one aspect of the game to pay attention to. Another, obviously, on the other side is Eli Manning. And where is he? Where is his arm? Is he back? There was some talk of the dead arm. Did the bye week help him? He talked about how he felt a lot better, and he certainly has to look better, and he can. I mean, everybody's expecting him to kind of get back to it, and he'll have Hakeem Nicks out there, and Nicks plays very well against the Packers. How about this, career-wise for Hakeem Nicks against the Pack? 18 catches, 346 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And remember, his great performance against the Packers last year in the playoffs of 7 catches and 165 yards. But, Eli is the guy, and we heard Phil Simms that said he's not an elite quarterback. He's going up against Aaron Rodgers, who is an elite quarterback. Jerry Reese was on earlier today with Ian O'Connor on ESPN New York, and he talked about the criticism that Eli Manning still faces even after 2 Super Bowls.
It's probably a combination of things. Just living in this region, in this area, it's what have you done for me lately? I mean, the next game lately, that soon, Eli's been a really good player for a very long time for us, and we hope he's a good player continue to be down the stretch for many more years for us. And he's not a flamboyant, look at me kind of guy. I think that's been well documented about Eli. He's just a team guy. He's just unassuming, hardworking team player, and we're happy that Eli Manning is the quarterback for the New York Giants.
No, certainly, especially with the 2 rings that he got you. No question about it. Eli Manning, Phil Simms says something. Obviously, there's a lot of weight behind it, him being one of the great Giant quarterbacks, and obviously he had the big Super Bowl win as well for the Giants in '86. And this is when he says something, though, especially like this, it's certainly a hot-button issue. And it's something that, first of all, I don't think it even means anything to Eli Manning. He certainly doesn't appear to be that kind of guy that if somebody criticizes him, especially a guy with the track record and the background, the cachet of a Phil Simms, especially considering the Giants connection. But this is a guy, he just plays football. And that's one thing you have to like about Eli Manning. He doesn't seem to get rattled. He certainly doesn't pay attention to a lot of the stuff, off the field. And I think really that's a lot of what the Giants have been about and a lot of what that organization has been about. And when you look at this team now and you see where they are at 6-4, and you wonder, after tonight's game, and will there be a bit of a statement when you watch them and you say, well, can they repeat? Can they get that third Super Bowl? Are they good enough this season? And the schedule, again, like I said, gets tougher. But are they good enough to be a team that can continue to talk about being a Super Bowl caliber team? It's something that Reese talked about with Ian O'Connor as well earlier this morning.
Well, it's week 12 or 13, whatever week it is, and we're first place in our division. Our division is not doing that great, but still, regardless, we're in first place in our division,